Baumann from Odessa. Coach, welcome to the studio.
Thanks, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can, man. How you doing?
Everything's good.
What's up,
Yeah,
Coach?
How are you guys?
good,
Good.
man. Good to have you on, man. We had to have you on the first show. Get it started. For those that don't follow Coach on social media, Coach is a good follow. He'll definitely give you his own opinion and not afraid to say it. And always celebrating JUCO. That's one thing I love about Coach. And so there's one tweet in particular that I wanted to bring up as we start. And you've done the transition. You were the head coach at Trinity Valley. You went to UTEP as an assistant, and now you're back in junior college. You made a tweet earlier in this offseason during the pandemic about coaches from the junior college level that have gone on to the Division I level have success. If you don't mind, talk a little bit about that tweet and a little bit about what you were trying to get across.
Yeah, I just think there's so many guys out there that people don't understand that have had tremendous success at the junior college level are now Division I coaches. I mean, I don't think a lot of people realize that Dana Altman was a junior college coach. I mean, people gets lost. Kermit Davis. I mean, there's numerous guys. You know, everybody, Chris Beard and Chris Jans have had great success recently, but I mean, there's just so many guys out there that were tremendous. You know, I mean, John Beeline. I mean, it goes way back to guys that have junior college experience, and you know, junior college is a great starting place for a lot of guys. You know, just because you have to do every facet. You have to do recruiting, you have to do game management, you have to do the academic part of it. You know, I mean, it takes every part of it to be successful. So, you know, there's a lot of guys, and I think it's going to be even more crucial now with these, you know, with the roster management that's going to happen, because I don't think guys are going to play 4 years of college basketball anymore. You know, and in junior college, your roster is always changing, and I think it's going guys with junior college experience that have dealt with that kind of stuff are going to be successful. I think, like you guys say, I think junior college gets a bad rap sometimes from ADs and other guys around the country. And my point was when I got the tweet out is there's a lot of people out there that guys don't understand that have JUCO backgrounds that have been very, very successful. And guys may have not even known that they were junior college coaches.
Yeah.
One of the tweets I put out was, you know, guys are hiring NBA guys all the time, guys that leave, you know, that were former NBA players that have become head coaches. And I did a comparison between a guy that was, you know, NBA coaches that hadn't had a lot of experience at the collegiate level and junior college coaches. And it was astounding. The junior college guys' records were a lot better than the NBA guys. And that's not a knock on the NBA guys, but the stats are the stats. You know, the numbers show what they are. So,
Right.
You know, some guys, you know, I just think it's important to put guys out there on the radar that, you know, that there's a lot of guys that are really good coaches this level that have moved up and have been very, very successful. And, you know, sometimes they get lost. People forget where they started.
No, absolutely, Coach. Tell us about your transition. You made the transition. I believe when you were at Trinity Valley, you were number one in the country. And then you made the move to UTEP to work for, drawing a blank on his name.
Coach Floyd.
Coach Floyd, former NBA coach as well. Tell us about your transition from JUCO to being a Division I assistant.
Well, I was fortunate because, you know, I mean, Coach Floyd is a legend in the business. So I was fortunate to go have a chance my first Division I job to go work for him.
Absolutely.
You know, I caught him at the tail end of his career, which was unfortunate, but I learned a lot in 2 years. You know, it was just a situation where he kind of got burned out on it at the end and decided to step away. And it was unfortunate because I was really, really starting to kind of get comfortable and with the recruiting part of it and the coaching part of it. But, you know, things happen in this business and you got to change all the time. And Phil Johnson was on that staff. He's associate head coach. You know, he coached in the NBA as well. So I learned a tremendous amount in a real short period of time. So, and I was lucky enough to get this job. You know, I think this is one of the premier jobs in the country, and I was lucky enough to land on my feet. And, you know, not very many guys, you know, people don't understand how hard it is when you lose your job in this business. You think you just land into another job. And Brian, you know this, you know, as well.
Yep.
It's really, really difficult. You know, you think you can get another one, and it's much more difficult than people think. And I was blessed and fortunate that Dr. Williams and Wayne Baker thought enough of me to give me this job, and I'm really excited about this year and the guys that we got. So,
yeah, I'll ask one more, and I'll turn it over to BG. So tell us if you had to say, what do you think it is that makes it where the guys that have coached in junior college end up having so much enormous success at the next level? You mentioned Dana Altman, you mentioned Chris Beard, you mentioned Chris Jans, Steve Forbes is another. The list kind of goes on and on. KT Turner just got promoted to a new job at Texas. There's guys, the list is endless. So what do you think it is from the junior college level that makes guys so successful at the next level?
Well, I think when guys originally got into coaching, especially those guys you just mentioned, they didn't get into it for the money. There's so much money in college basketball now. A lot of guys, it's kind of brought some guys in that they just want to make a lot of money when they see how much money and the fame and everything else of being on, these college staffs. I think guys get into junior college not for the money. I think they get in because they love basketball and they love being around kids and they love the teaching part of it. And, they don't mind sweeping the floor, packing the uniforms. And I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. And, I think the guys, my first job, I made $5,000 at Chipotle and lived in the dorms. I mean, that was my very first job and I loved it. It was one of the happiest years. Those were some of the happiest years of my life. And you get into it for, the love of the game, the love of helping people, being a servant. You don't get into it for the money. Now, the money, as you move up in the business, it becomes pretty attractive, obviously. And I think that's in any business. But, the guys that got in it, you have to learn. Like I said, you have to learn how to recruit. You have to learn how to handle academics. You got to learn how to work with administrators on campus. You've got to work, you've got to learn how to run the shot clock and the game clock in practice. I mean, there's a million things that you got to learn how to do the laundry after practice. I mean, things that people don't even think about that you're doing as an assistant junior college coach, that you got to take guys to the airport. You got to take them back. You got to walk them to class. You got to make sure they don't leave class early when they're in class. I mean, just numerous things that guys on Division I, those are your managers are doing that at Division I schools. I mean, you're doing everything, but I think it gives you have background in everything. So I think when you do get a job at the Division I level, I think you have a much better understanding how the program's supposed to work. I've talked to Steve Forbes and some of those guys, they talk about their experiences in the business and it's amazing the things that, they had to do as they moved up. I mean, Steve Forbes started at Southwestern Iowa and Creston, Iowa, and I mean, there's just a lot of, and people don't understand is you beg and plead to get these junior college jobs. I mean, guys understand these jobs are hard to get as well, just like Division I jobs. And there's, just like you guys know, there's tremendous talent at this level. There's very, very good players and there's very, very good people. And some of these kids, the best experience they have in their careers are at the junior college level. A lot of guys, they'll tell you, say, what was your best experience? It was when I was playing at Odessa or playing at South Plains or playing at Indian Hills. He said, those were the best years of my life.
Real quick, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk and say something about Grant McCassin and Ross Hodge, who I worked for. Those guys just won a conference championship over at North Texas. Those guys are JUCO products too. Yeah, definitely that transition. You have to do everything at the junior college level. And as an assistant at the junior college level myself, your staff is a lot shorter than at the Division I level. So there's no specialization. There's no director of ops. There's no video coordinator. You have to wear all those hats. So I'll pass it over to Brandon and let him kind of get some questions.
Yeah, I think when we talk about like the success level of some of those guys that have moved on, which I do always like to think about, what was that like when Steve Forbes was doing dorm room checks? Like,
I mean, Coach Forbes has got. He's a junior college legend. Some of the places that he's worked and the places that he's moved up. And you feel good for guys like that because. Yeah. He's a grinder and he's done it his whole life and he's moved up and, in Grant, I knew Grant McCaslin when he was the second assistant at Northeastern Junior College in Sterling, Colorado. And I was the head coach at Lamar. I mean, a lot of these guys go way back and it doesn't surprise me how successful he's been because they were successful there and at every level. I tried to get on with him at Midland and he had hired Linder, who's now the head coach now at Wyoming. And yep. You look at the tree of those guys they've had and the success that guys have had. And it's amazing, just all the ties that guys have within the junior college ranks.
I think too, the thing that I've noticed is it's almost like a different attitude, a different personality or something for the guys that have done that. You think about like a Forbes, for example, like he came out, I was at the Region 9 championships and I'm sitting there with him and Molinari and they're telling me stories, about yesteryear. And it was such a different approachable attitude, almost kind of like, we always say, like, don't forget where you came from. Right. And there's so many of these guys that are now Division I head coaches that were junior college guys and they haven't forgotten, they love telling those stories of where they came from.
It's a badge of honor. I didn't play junior college basketball. My dad coached junior college baseball of all things for 35 years. And, but it's a badge of honor. It really, really is. When I was a kid, I grew up on the bottom run underneath vans riding to baseball games, so I could go. I mean, it really is a badge of honor, and guys wear it very proudly because it's kind of like the junior college kids when they talk about Jimmy Butler and the NBA and everything else. You never forget where you came from, and like I said, you get overlooked and you have to grind. But like I said, it's really, really an enjoyable. I think this is really the last true form of basketball in this country, because the way we don't have a lot of limited hours on how long we can work with these guys or what the stuff that we can do. I mean, this is true basketball still. We can still coach them hard, and we don't have to worry about guys transferring if something, if we hurt their feelings and everything else. I mean, there's just a lot of. And these guys learn to grind. I mean, we're going to leave tomorrow. We're packing sack lunches to go up and play Salt Lake up at South Plains. And, our guys are going to eat sack lunches on the way up, and we're going to play Salt Lake, who's very, very good. And then we're going to get a good meal. And guys don't understand that. They're going to be on a 15-passenger bus, and my assistant coach is going to drive the bus. I mean, those things people are like, I mean, they think, wow. But, you really get to bond in those times, and you really get to know your teammates, and you really get, just like you said, you got in this because you had one special relationship with a kid, and it's kind of evolved. Well, it's the same here. The relationships we have with these kids at this level is just tremendous. And like I said, I wouldn't trade my experiences for the world. I've been a lot of unique places and seen a lot of unique people, and have had a lot of unique kids, but I've really, really enjoyed this part of it, and I'm really starting to settle and enjoy doing what I'm doing. Well,
and the for both the players and the coaches, right? We always kind of joke about the JUCO things,
right.
But the character that those things build, and we always talk about like character through struggle and all that sort of stuff. And not that, struggle's not even the right word, right? It's just, there is a difference between flying a charter and chartering a van, right?
Well, yeah.
And at the end of the day, I can guarantee you that all those guys we mentioned will say they sure learned a lot more about who they are, who their team is, how they can overcome things sitting in that van than sitting on that charter flight.
Well, I had Octavius Ellis, who played for me and then went to Cincinnati and played for Coach Cronin. And, Mick's one of the best coaches in the country. And he texted me one night and he said, man, Coach, these guys don't understand. I'm like, what? And he said, they've never eaten cold pizza before. And, after the game, if that pizza is not delivered on time, you're getting cold pizza, and those kids are eating cold pizza on the way home. And his point was, guys don't really understand the grind and what you have to eat. Guys get spoiled. I remember when I went to UTEP and we had team meals and team functions, and I was amazed at all the stuff. And guys, there were guys that would whine about certain things there, and I would just kind of laugh in the back of my head. Said, if these guys only really knew, where some of these guys, what they have to do just to be able to play at the collegiate level. But no, it's pretty interesting, and as you know, and I think it's really cool some of the things that you've done with the international kids. The kid that played at New Mexico last year, that's at BYU, I can't remember his name, but he is a tremendous young man, and I had a chance to meet him. He actually got hurt in our game, but I saw some of the things he did and some of the opportunities. I've got a couple international kids here that were they had to stay here through COVID because they couldn't go home. And they were so thankful for the opportunity that they have in this country. And, those things, those really change you as a person, as a coach, when you see how appreciative people are for the opportunities that they've been given here.
And things that junior college is unique in its ability to offer, because were it not for junior college, nobody knows who Gideon George is.
No. And he's as good a person as there is, not only in college basketball, in the world. And like I said, the things that he's done, and I remember we'd play games and he'd come over and thank me and talk to me, and he'd be in the game and he'd look over and say, hey, Coach, how you doing? And I'm like, hey, we're trying to win. We're trying to beat you in here. But he's just that kind of guy. And like I said, you feel really good, when, BYU got a heck of a player and a heck of a person. And when those kids have a chance to move on and be successful, and he'll have a tremendous impact in their program just because of who he is as a person.
Yep, 100%.
So tell us a little bit about your team this year. I know we're talking about JUCO and giving love to JUCO. We wouldn't want to have you on and not have you talk a little bit about your path and career, because you've been in Kansas. You've also coached in the East Texas League. Now you're in the West Texas League. There's always arguments, Bucket, about which league is the best. So you might have some of the best perspective. But tell us a little bit about your team and then just kind of JUCO and the stops that you've been.
Well, the West is best, guys. I can tell you that. I don't, the West Texas is the best. You just look at what we've done in the national tournament and through the years and everything else, the last 10 to 15 years. It's a tremendous league. It's got great players. Somebody brought up a stat that I think there were 12 NBA guys on contracts, and 6 of them were whackjack guys, were Western Texas kids. So, it kind of tells you the talent that we have out here. I've been at all. East Texas was tremendous. I learned how to coach in Kansas. The Jayhawk West was, it was loaded. It was great basketball. So I've seen it all. We got an interesting team. I got 2 guys back. We weren't as good as it was probably one of my worst years in 20 years last year. And, I brought 2 kids back off that team, and we got a lot of work to do. I got a tremendous group of guys. This COVID stuff has made stuff really interesting, but we got a good group, and, we're going to add some more guys here at the break. And, I've got a couple scholarships open, and I've got an international kid coming over, and I've got a couple other guys we're looking at. So we got a heck of a challenge tomorrow. We got to play Salt Lake, and I'm not sure we're ready to play them yet, but we'll go up there and fight them and try to give them a battle. And we'll get a chance to watch South Plains play, who I've heard is tremendous. I've heard their talent is outstanding this year. So, and Steve's got a lot of guys back. So, I'm sure they'll be top, 1, 2, or 3 in the country. So I'll get a chance to watch them. And more importantly, our guys get to watch them play. Because I think the best way for your kids to learn about this league is to watch other good teams in your league play. So, but I really like my group. We got a lot of new faces, and it always takes a while. I do think the better coaches in this country will be really, really good this year. I think you'll see a better junior college basketball than you've ever seen, just because we've had so much more time with our guys to kind of get them ready to play. I just hope we play. At the end of the day, I just hope we're able to get through this stuff that we're going through now, and the kids it's safe to go out there and play, because I think you're going to see outstanding players and competition. But I think guys have really, really been able to be coached this year for 3 or 4 or 5 months before we get to get out there and turn them loose on, in real games.
Well, you talk about being, able to handle a lot of things and wear a lot of different hats. You hear coaches, Division I coaches talk about like, how difficult things are right now, dealing with COVID and whatever. And it's like, are you recruiting 3 or 4 guys through the fall while you're preparing your team while dealing with COVID? But it's not like, oh yeah, we're just going to bring in these people. We're going to do all this testing. It's like, some guys got to go to different towns to do testing. It is chaos right now. If a coach makes it through this fall and this spring as a junior college coach, they need a medal, because this is a different year.
I saw Jeff Goodman. He was talking about all the guys that were whining about scheduling, how hard scheduling was. and I want to tell, I believe this. I told those guys, I said, you ought to be happy if you get a check this month. You ought to be happy you get your check every month. I don't want to hear guys whine about, well, this is difficult. If you get an opportunity to play this year and you get a chance to because there's a lot of people out here that lost their jobs that don't have they're not getting paid. And I get tired of the guys that whine all scheduling. And it is because of all the changes, but I want to share with them, you better be grateful if we get a chance to play basketball and you're able to coach at the collegiate level. What a gift that is. And sometimes I just hear all these guys and I just kind of shake my head sometimes and go, you guys really, it's beautiful. We get paid to coach, do something we love and coach guys that we love. So I think that's a little bit, sometimes I see that, Jeff Goodman puts all that stuff out there, and I follow Jeff, and Jeff's a really good guy, but I just sit there and laugh sometimes about it.
Perspective.
We got speaking of perspective, we got one of your coaching tree. Bucket now has a coaching tree.
Oh my goodness. First of all, you got to see who I claim and who I don't claim. There'll be some guys that want to jump on that tree that I don't claim. I can tell you that.
Well, Hunter Jenkins, new head coach at Clarendon College, in the same league. Congratulations, Hunter. He says Bucket for president 2024. Tell us a little bit about what it's like having one of your former guys in the league, and he's now a head coach.
Oh, I thought it was great. I thought Hunter got a great opportunity. Isaac did a tremendous job at Clarendon. he won the league up there, which is, for him to do what he did there is just tremendous in our league. Hunter got a great, Isaac got a great opportunity to move on to Louisiana Monroe. Another junior college guy moving up,
Yep.
And And Hunter got the opportunity. I think he'll do great things. He's got one of my former assistants there, Coach Bradley, who was with me. He's also got, I think, the guy in student services that played for me, Tad Andrews, and actually Tad and Jay played for me, and Hunter was with us when I was at Trinity Valley. So no, those guys they're going to be a thorn in our side. I saw their talent level. They've got 2 really good players right now up there, and I know they're going to add some more. So I was really, really happy for him. Coach Leslie, a guy that I played with in college, is at Trinity Valley. He worked for me for a long time. He worked for me at Garden City and Trinity Valley. I know they're really, really good. He's done a tremendous job since he's been there, and this is his first chance to be a head coach. And I think he'll surprise a lot of people. Number one, their talent, and number 2, how good a coach he is. So he's going to be another guy but there's a lot of guys out there that I've got some ties to and former. In fact, Jay Scrub, the kid that got drafted, was trained by one of my former guys, Levon Morris, when I was at Garden City. And, and I told him and I said, hey, can you kind of give me a heads up next time you get a guy like that? So I think I was actually at UTEP when the kid went to John A. Logan. But no, it's kind of cool, all the ties that I have, with some of these other guys, and it just means I'm getting older. So.
Absolutely. Before we let you go, Coach, any last things you would say about junior college in general for those that don't really understand and don't respect it the level? We want to make sure we're showing as much appreciation to JUCO, but also giving a little education. So anything you have left for us that you want to leave with, we would love to have you share.
Well, I just think it's great guys like you guys. I think you guys that you promoted, I think you have to get it out there in front of people all the time. And I know Brian has done a tremendous job with it, and I know, Brian, you're getting into it. I just think it's good that you guys are getting these kids out there and their stories out there, and the coaches and everything else, because I think it's very, very vital. And that's kind of what my tweet was when you asked me earlier. It was to get these guys, to let everybody know that this is a tremendous level with tremendous coaches and tremendous players, and that we don't always get the visibility that everybody else does, but it's a great experience. I'm at one of the premier junior colleges in the country, and I work for great people. Dr. Williams is a tremendous leader. And like I said, I'm just hoping we get to play some basketball this year and everybody gets a chance to watch junior college basketball, and everybody gets to go to Hutch and enjoy that experience, because that's a lifetime experience.
Absolutely. You've been a few times, so firsthand. I'll let Brandon kind of give any thoughts he has before we let you go, man. Thanks so much for coming on, Coach. Good luck this season. Stay safe, and keep those guys wearing the mask, of course.
I only got one favor, Brandon. I want to come over and play NBA Jam. That's all I want. Because you got that old NBA Jam, and that's what we grew up playing. I love NBA Jam. So
100%, man.
If I get a chance, John Stockton and Karl Malone or whoever it is, I want to get over there and play some NBA Jam with you.
I love it, Coach. Keep doing your thing.
I got a text that came in. Former Odessa Wrangler Keandre Cook signs free agent deal with the Hornets.
There you go. I mean, there's guys. I mean, you're talking about. I mean, people forget Craig Elo played here. People from way back in the day. I mean, Craig Elo's from right down the road here in Lubbock, and he played here. And Moochie Norris and LJ, and I thought it was cool. I didn't coach Keandre, but I sent a deal out to Keandre and said, "Hey, best of luck," and everything else on Twitter. And he said, "OC for life, coach." And I didn't coach him, but that's the kind of things, just like you guys were talking about, the experience that he had here with Trey Arnold. You can't change that. And that kid, he never, guys never forget that. It's, I think that's really, really cool. And I wish Keandre the best of luck.
Could end up with a couple Wranglers in the NBA this year if Cook can stick, and if Josh Gray gets.
Yeah, Josh has bounced around, and LJ is going to get a chance. LJ, after he's done with Oregon, he's trying to get through the waiver process right now, but he's going to have an opportunity. And it's crazy. I mean, the kid that was at Western Texas, I actually was in his home trying to get him to come to Trinity Valley. I can't think of his name right now, but you start looking around, all these guys, and it's just amazing. Elise Johnson from Frank Phillips and all these guys. It's just amazing, the success. Jay Crowder, obviously, what he did in the finals, playing at Howard and everything else. So, I mean, there's tremendous players all over the country, and there's tremendous players in our league.
Yeah, you mentioned Trey Arnold. We should give shout out to him, another JUCO guy who is now at Sanford, I believe, as an assistant coach.
Yeah, it was a tremendous hire. It's a tremendous hire for them. I would look for them to do big things. I think they're going to be a sleeper, and I think they're going to do big things up there. Yeah,
absolutely. And then Jace Harrell is the one who sent me the text over at Missouri State. So no, thanks so much, Coach. Good luck this weekend, and we'll definitely stay in touch and definitely stay safe, and look forward to watching the Wranglers do some big things this year as always.
Thanks for having me, guys, and thanks for talking about Wrangler basketball.